Chapter 3. I see you. 944 to county. I'll be out at 7:47:19 Grapevine for a follow-up. 10:4944, County responded. I walked up to Carrie's front door and knocked. Carrie met me at the door and she looked awful as if she hadn't slept in days. Carrie, I know you're going through a lot right now, but we need to get you some help. I looked at Carrie and she looked at the ground as if she had only one thing on her mind. I could tell her eyes were red and dried up, and it looked like she didn't have anything left to cry if she wanted to. Carrie finally looked at me and said,
She's all I can think about, Ray. She's all I have left.
I asked Carrie if I could come inside and she'd lead the way. I asked Carrie if I could look around Haley's room for any signs. And Carrie told me she would wait in the front room if I needed anything. Carrie kept a clean house, but I could tell she was slowly neglecting to do any cleaning lately. I wanted to give her some help, but I knew deep down inside the only help was to find Haley. I walked inside Haley's room and it didn't surprise me much. It looked like an ordinary 14-year-old's bedroom in decent condition and pretty clean, with some things on the floor here and there. There were posters of bands and celebrities whom I have never heard of before. There were also string lights hanging from the ceiling and a vanity adjacent from her closet. I looked at the vanity and found it odd that there was a space cleared out, but nothing around. No mirror for makeup or jewelry. I could tell she was using that space for something, but that something was out of place. I ruled out the possibility of using that for homework, since her teachers were telling me her grades have fallen due to not doing homework. But what was missing? I looked in the closet and saw clothes any 14-year-old girl would wear with some darker clothes in the far back corner. My guess was those were the more conservative, darker clothes people have been telling me about. I looked through her drawers, where the makeup she used to use appeared to be in storage, as she no longer wore much of it lately, according to Cassandra. I looked under the bed and bingo! A laptop that was stored out of the way as if it wasn't meant to be found. I picked it up and sat it on the vanity, where it seemed to make a perfect fit from the random items surrounding it. Like it was the missing piece to the puzzle, I flipped the top open and powered it on. As the laptop powered up, I held my breath expecting a password, but it never asked for one. I started going through her laptop very carefully, knowing the one clue I need could be waiting for me to spot it, and if I don't, I will be back at nothing again. I went through her photos. Nothing. Next was her videos. Nothing. I went through her browsing history and located her school emails. I read through each one carefully and all the ones she sent, but nothing seemed concerning. Last thing I can think of was going through her control panel and seeing if she had any applications installed that may jump out at me. There was the Discord application that stood out as if it had a giant spotlight shining on it. Discord is an instant messaging platform that also allows people to video and voice chat for free. I launched Discord wondering why there wasn't a shortcut on the desktop. Discord began to load up and showed me that Haley was only in 3 different community servers. I found that a bit odd for someone as social as people were claiming Haley at least used to be. The first 2 servers were pretty active and seemed to be normal communities. The last one I was not expecting. The last server appeared to be a dark, demon-worshipping community that had a limited amount of members, while the other 2 servers had a member count in the thousands. The community did not appear to be active, just a few posts here and there. I scrolled through the channels and found topics where members claimed to capture a neighbor's pet, slaughter it, and post the pictures for other members to see. There was a different discussion where members would take turns worshiping a specific demon and invite for that demon to take control over their body to roam the mortal planet again. I honestly could not believe what I was reading. I could only take so much of that before I started scrolling through Haley's direct messages. They were mostly from guys that were shooting their shot at Haley, but she denied them. They were mostly followed up by the typical, "Let me show you how a real man treats a lady." And good for her. She never budged. Unfortunately, there was nothing that was helping me in this case so far. So the thought of scrolling through her friends list popped up. She only had 5 friends, and they were all from members in that cult community. Just when I felt like I had hit a wall, a little sound played from the laptop's speaker, indicating I had received a new direct message. Odd timing, I thought, as I clicked to open the message from a user with random numbers as a username. I see you, it read. I sat in the chair, caught completely off guard. I looked at the top of the laptop and saw a red light next to the built-in camera indicating it was active. Haley's laptop had been hacked and the hacker was watching me. Before I could think of my next move, the same account sent me another message. This time, it was only an image. As the image loaded, I could tell it was an image of me sitting at Haley's vanity, but something was off. In the background behind me, the closet doors were open. I knew I shut them after searching the closet. I looked a little closer, and in the corner behind me was a black shadow. Without a face standing in front of the closet, I slowly turned around to see nothing was there, and the closet doors were shut as I had left them. I stood up from the chair and opened the closet door, fully expecting something to happen. Nothing did. All of her clothes were still hanging in her closet, just as they were before. I looked in the far corner and was disrupted by the chime again, indicating another message was received. I went back to Haley's laptop only to find out the entire screen was nothing but static. I just stood there, trying to process the events that had just happened, yet didn't make any sense. For some reason, I kept looking at the static on the laptop screen, hoping it would clear up. But my focus was interrupted by a creak in the floor just outside of Haley's bedroom. My focus shifted from the laptop to the doorway as it grew dead silent once again. I had a feeling Carrie was waiting just outside in the hallway for me out of sight, but listening to what I was doing. I turned my head back to face the laptop, only to find it was a black screen, as if the battery ran out of power. I turned back towards Haley's bed to look for the laptop charger. I got back down on my hands and knees to look under the bed when I heard another creak in the floor coming from the hallway. I turned around and looked towards the hallway just as the creak in the floor stopped. I stared motionless for a moment before, some odd reason, I said, "I see you." A moment of silence went by before Carrie said,
I see you too.
and walked by the doorway and out of sight again. "Miss Carrie?" I asked. Carrie didn't respond. I stood up and walked out of Haley's bedroom and turned the corner to ask Carrie what that was about, but she wasn't there. "Ms. Carrie," I shouted out. No response. I walked down the hall looking for Carrie but could not find her. "Carrie, what are you doing?" I shouted, but still no answer from Carrie. I walked back to the front room in search of Carrie, but she wasn't there. I made my way to the adjoining kitchen and looked out the window where I could see the backyard. As I was scanning the backyard for Carrie or anything for that matter, I heard a soft scratching noise behind me. I turned around and located the scratching noise coming from behind the refrigerator. Slowly, I walked towards the refrigerator as the soft scratching noise continued. I reached for the refrigerator's door handle, and as I nearly grabbed it, the scratching stopped completely, and so did I. I thought to myself, this is getting out of hand, and started backstepping away from the refrigerator. I walked back towards Haley's room, determined to find her laptop charger. Just before I could walk into the bedroom, the door shut so quickly it made me jump. Thinking Carrie had given me the go-around and snuck back into Haley's bedroom, I knocked on the door. "Miss Carrie, are you all right?" I asked. No response. I had no idea what Carrie was doing all of a sudden. If she didn't want me there any longer, she could have said so. "Miss Carrie, if you want me to leave, just say so. I understand if you need a moment," I said, fishing for a response or anything from Carrie. Still nothing, but silence. Suddenly, I heard a slight creak in the floor, just on the other side of the bedroom door. I got back down on my hands and knees to peek through the bottom of the door, only to see part of Carrie's face, with one eye looking right back at me. I rolled backwards away from the door, expecting Carrie to chase after me in a maniac episode, but she never did. "Carrie, what the hell's going on?" I asked. As I was waiting on Carrie to respond or say anything for that matter, my portable radio began making a static-like noise. Just as Haley's laptop made earlier while I was in her bedroom. Almost immediately, I could hear Carrie start to scratch the other side of Haley's bedroom door. As I looked up towards the door expecting Carrie to open it, I started to hear a young girl's voice through the radio. The white noise from the static was too loud for me to make out anything the young girl was saying. I turned up my radio's volume to maximum to try and get a better understanding what the voice was saying, but it seemed as if the white noise was only getting louder, and the girl's voice was only getting drowned out that much more. All of a sudden, everything became silent again. Carrie stopped scratching at the bedroom door, and the white noise and the faint girl's voice from my portable radio stopped. Everything was quiet, too quiet. Suddenly, Carrie screamed from the top of her lungs and started banging on the bedroom door from the other side. It was a yell so loud and blood-curdling. Even I got a startled from, so I ran out of the house and back to my patrol car. My adrenaline was pumping, and I had half of a thought to run back inside, force the bedroom door open, and confront Carrie. But then, my portable radio keyed up and dispatch came through. County to 944. Go ahead, County, I responded with my eyes still focused on Carrie's house, as I was still waiting for Carrie to run outside with a knife to slaughter me. 944. County 7 is responding to a commercial burglary alarm at the old flea market and is requesting your assistance. I was a little agitated at the call, as I wasn't done with Carrie, but I knew I had to wait for another day, as I wasn't about to let a deputy respond to an alarm by himself. 10-4, I'll be en route, I said. The flea market had been abandoned for nearly 10 years, yet it was a huge two-story building on the edge of the town's jurisdiction, just off the highway, and surrounded by farm fields. The parking lot was gravel, yet lost a battle to weeds that were taller than me due to neglect. I met up with Deputy McCoy, who was waiting for me at the entrance. Deputy McCoy said he checked the perimeter and didn't see any cars outside and was waiting for me to make entry.
I don't like this,
said Deputy McCoy.
This place has been closed down for years, and the alarm suddenly works?
I said surely he never had the power turned off. Deep down inside, I knew the power had been shut off long ago. I knew the owner of the flea market, and he was a stingy fellow. He had shut down the flea market long ago as he felt it wasn't making him enough money. No way he'd keep paying the power bill for nothing. There was also a restaurant inside that used to be a good place, but he refused to pay the staff a decent wage, so no one ever stuck around. McCoy and I took out our flashlights and walked inside. There wasn't even a door on the hinge. Leftover merchandise from years and years ago was left on the shelves and had fallen onto the floors. The ceiling panels had fallen onto the floors, exposing loose wires. Sidewalls were destroyed and had holes due to water damage. Mold and neglect, McCoy. And I had to tiptoe and watch our steps to get through since there was so much junk everywhere. By this time, the sun had completely set, and the only source of light came from our flashlights. None of the lights inside worked, confirming my theory that the electricity had been shut off. McCoy said,
Bad time to run out of battery.
Don't even, I said as we began our search. Police, if anyone is here, make your presence known, I yelled. McCoy yelled out twice as loud.
Sheriff's office, let me know you're here.
As to try and one-up me. I hope you do run out of battery. I'll just follow the sound of you crying to save you, I said. As we searched further and further into the building, we approached the stairs to the second level. We'll cut time if we split up, I said.
I'm still trying to figure out how the alarm went off when there's no power in here,
McCoy said as he walked up the stairs, and I continued on the bottom level. I shined my flashlight into a corner, and the dancing shadows from my moving flashlight were playing tricks on my eyes. I walked through the main area and onto the next, which looked like a clothing department. Something off in the distance caught my eyes, so I shined my light in that direction and saw a mannequin. I slowly walked up to it and said, "A few cops would have shot you," and continued walking. Next department was a vinyl records area. I have to admit it was pretty neat to see a bunch of antique records still on shelves. As if it were the 1970s, I tried keying up on my radio to let McCoy and dispatch know I was good. But the radio kept bonking, indicating I was in a dead zone. And it could not transmit. I couldn't help but to go through some records as if I was shopping in the 1970s. It was a shame these records were going to waste. I can imagine any antique collector would love to buy these and add them to their collection. I walked to the next section, which I could tell was the last apartment by the windows on the far walls. I wonder which section this is, I asked myself. I walked a few more steps before my flashlight revealed it was the antique doll department full of creepy old dolls. Why? There's a pretty uneasy feeling to have hundreds of old, ugly, creepy, dirty dolls looking at you with their blank stare from their black eyes. I stepped inside and walked into the doll department. Police! Make your presence known, I yelled. Suddenly, as if it were an answer, a doll fell from a shelf out of my flashlight's funnel. Show me your hands now! I shouted, expecting to see someone stumble. But no one was there. I walked towards the sound of the fallen doll, with my duty pistol drawn, looking for movement. Who's there? I shouted, waiting for a response. No answer. What happened next made me regret certain life choices. One was choosing a career in law enforcement. Another doll on a different shelf started to laugh in a playful tone. What the fuck? I asked myself out loud. This is something that happens in horror movies, not real life. Just then, the doll stopped laughing. I stayed still for a moment before walking in the direction I heard the laughter coming from. Trying to be a tough guy for my own ego, I said, "Aren't your batteries supposed to be dead?" With the way the day had gone, I was half expecting a response. Unfortunately, I received a response. I see you, a different doll said from behind me. I turned around quickly. I could have broken my own neck, and the hair on the back of my neck raised up. Without thinking, I said, I see you too, even though I did not know which doll had said it. In the same playful tone, the doll asked, Did you find her yet? I was done. That was too much for me. I started walking backwards away from the dolls. I wanted no more of that. I bumped into something right behind me, which nearly made me scream, but it wouldn't have mattered as Deputy McCoy screamed loud like a little girl.
What the fuck?
Deputy McCoy asked as I backed into him. Holy hell, man. How long have you been right behind me? I asked Deputy McCoy. Deputy McCoy said,
There wasn't much upstairs, so I came back to find you and heard you talking. Who were you talking to?
knowing I'd sound like a crazy person if I told him dolls were talking to me, I thought fast on my feet and told him I was talking to myself, as I don't like dolls. He looked at me with a skeptical look on his face and said,
These dolls are creepy. Let's get out of here.
I went to bed that night, not being able to sleep. I was too bothered trying to process what all had happened that day. Nothing ever happens in this small town, and now all of a sudden everything gets weird. I knew I was feeling the pressure to find Haley, but was also driving myself insane at the same time. I wanted a day off to rest, but knew people would not be happy with that I'm a one-man department. If I don't take some time off, I will drive myself insane. If I don't take some time off, the people will think I don't care. Someone had gone missing. Damned if you do, damned if you don't.